Hello and welcome to the second Lockdown CocoaHeadsNL livestream. In March we had a good audience at our first online-only event. 90 people joined us online to watch Antoine present on async operations in Swift. Since the last meetup, Marco has worked hard to improve our viewing experience by creating a custom WebRTC solution. Let's see how things work tonight. Last night the Dutch government has indicated that the smart lockdown will last until May 20th. Also, all events requiring a permit are banned until September 1st. While we do not require a permit for our regular meetups, we have chosen to do online-only meetups till September 1st. All meetups will be online during the summer of 2020. For those unfamiliar with the CocoaHeadsNL, we are a monthly meetup focused on iOS and Mac development. You might have heard of CocoaHeads before. Well, we are the Dutch CocoaHeads. We are incorporated as a non-profit in the Netherlands. If you want to support the CocoaHeadsNL non-profit, please consider buying a t-shirt or a mug at cocoaheads.nl/shop. We are made possible by our sponsors. Please welcome JetBrains as a new sponsor to our community. Again, we would like to also thank Egenic, Park Mobile, ABN AMRO Bank, Achmea, Q42, Getaround, the Royal Dutch Touring Club, or ANWB if you are Dutch, and Moneybird. You can also win a JetBrains coupon code by entering our raffle on Slack. You can invite yourself to our Slack with the bit.ly link. If you are not on our Slack, well, open your browser and type along with me. bit.ly, that's ly, /2ZET capital X A capital O. Now hit enter and you can do the rest to join us on Slack. In case you are wondering, I did pre-record the front matter of tonight's presentation. Tonight we have a presentation by Josh Holtz. Josh is the lead maintainer of Fastlane tools. I myself like using the tools Apple provides directly, but I must also admit that a lot of my knowledge was gained by reading through Fastlane source code. Fastlane is a tool I think most of us have heard about and probably also have used it in production. Josh is here to give us a rundown on how he thinks Fastlane should be used, and he will demonstrate that with a live demonstration. As with the previous meetup, we will be collecting all questions and present those at the end of the presentation to Josh, and he will answer them at that time. We will have another meetup in May. Once we have the details, we will share those with you through our regular channels. Those are Twitter, Slack, and meetup.com. Don't forget to download our Apple TV and iOS apps. Also, if you happen to be looking for a job, check our job board for openings at our sponsors. Even in these trying times, companies are looking for additions to their teams. Please join me in welcoming Josh with his talk on Fastlane. Take it away, Josh.
All right. I think we're live. All right. Hello everyone. I'm Josh Holtz. Tools. And today we're going to be talking about going from nothing to the App Store. Going to give some little Fastlane tips, bits of information along the way, and it's going to be a live code session. So I'm Josh Holtz. I started a software consulting company called Rockin' Cat in 2011. I do software consulting, mainly iOS, macOS, and Fastlane consulting. And I've been working with Fastlane since it started in 2015 to I guess today. I've been core contributor since 2015, and I've been lead maintainer since March of 2018. And just another thing about me, I do have a stutter and a fear of public speaking, but I'm here anyway. So we'll see how this goes. Let's get started. So I'm going to give a quick intro on what Fastlane is. Fastlane is mobile app automation done right. Easiest way to build and release mobile apps, going from, I can't point at the screen, screenshots, deployment, app store, and code signing. And we're going to be going through most of that today, except for automating screenshots. We don't have time for that. So today's goal, we're going to start off with a Swift UI app that has a iOS and Mac OS build target. It's pretty simple. There's just a single label on the screen that says "Hello World." Nothing too complex because we're not actually going to get into any Swift code. There's no Fastlane integration, nothing else going on, nothing created in the developer website yet. This is like as basic as you can start off from Xcode. And we're going to end up with created apps on Developer Portal, App Store Connect with certificates, provisioning profiles. It's going to build code sign, submit binaries to the App Store. And then if we have time, we'll do a little extra fun Fastlane stuff on top of that. And as I mentioned, we are not going to touch the developer portal at all. We may go look at it as proof that there is something there, but we're not going to go edit things unless things go horribly, which they shouldn't hopefully go horribly. So today's process, we're going to install Fastlane. Bundler is the way we're going to do that. I'll talk about that more later. We're going to initialize Fastlane, get our fast file created. We're going to stub out the fast file with the lanes that we're going to use for both iOS and macOS. And then we're going to incrementally implement and test each step so that we know that the first things work, and then they're all going to add after each other until we have one final working thing. We'll add extra functionality if we have time, some stuff that kind of helps with the whole deploy process, and then we'll have a Q&A session. So let's code. We're going to use Bundler to install Fastlane. Bundler manages our dependencies for us. It makes sure that our Fastlane is on the correct version that we're using and all of its dependencies too. So we're going to get a terminal over here. I believe it is a big enough font. If it's not, just yell in chat and we should see. And if I don't see it, I'll be told that I need to make it bigger. So I think this is good. We'll go with this. So we have an empty repository here. There is not much. We have a workspace. Our app is called Hubby. Workspace. We have a framework, our Mac OS app, and our iOS app. That's all we got. So we're going to start with Bundler so we can get Fastlane installed and then get into the fun stuff. So to get into, I have to disable that. There we go. Bundle init is how we're going to install Bundler, and we have a gem file in there. We're gonna go into Vim, and this is where we got. So we have a gem file. This is where we will install Fastlane from. We're gonna delete this extra stuff. We aren't doing Rails. Gem Fastlane is all we need. We're going to go back over here and run bundle install. Bundle install will install Fastlane and all of its dependencies. And we're using Fastlane version 2.146.2, which is about a half an hour old. So the next step, let's go back to our slides here. So we create a gem file. It creates this gem.lock for us, which we don't really need to look at. And then we've installed Fastlane with bundle install. So our next step is to initialize Fastlane. What we're going to do is run Fastlane init. There it is, Fastlane init. It will ask us 4 ways to install it. If you want to automate screenshots, automate beta distribution to test flight, automate App Store distribution, or manual setup. Yes, Vim. I see chat. Vim. That's how I roll. We're going to run manual setup since we're going to do this by hand. It's going to ask us some things, and then we have a Fastlane directory. We'll see it here, but we'll go see it over in Vim. So I think I need to refresh this. There it is. So we have our gem file, our gemfile.lock, our Fastlane directory with our app file, and our fast file. We're actually not going to be using the app file today. We're going to stick with, so we aren't going to be using the app file. We're going to be using .env files instead, but we are going to spend a lot of time in the fast file. Where are we here? Here we are. So we're going to delete all of the comments up here. We're not going to delete it. We're not going to have a default platform because we're going to treat iOS and Mac OS equally. So here is our pretty basic fast file that doesn't really do anything yet. We're going to go back to our slides. So we initialize Fastlane. Not super hard to do. So we're going to stub out the fast file now. I did put links in the slides. I'll post slides up somewhere later so that you can see, that is duplicate links. That should not be right. I'll update the slides later as well. But I have links to the docs where I pulled these things from. We're going to stub out the lanes that we want and then comment the lanes so we know what they're going to do. And then we're going to hook the lanes up to each other because our lanes are actually going to have a composition form where they one calls the one before it. So we have one good process. And we're going to start subbing out our fast file. So what we are going to do is we're going to have two platforms. We're going to have platform iOS, and we're going to have platform, I believe it's Mac. It could be Mac OS. I think it's Mac. We're just going to delete this for now. We'll do a little bit of copy and pasting later. So our first lane that we are going to do, it's going to be called, something in my notes, here it is. Oh, that's the wrong one. Here it is. Signing. Signing is going to sync our signing for us. We're also going to have a lane that is called build. That's going to build and compile our app for us and export the binaries. And then we're going to have a lane called release, which will send our binaries to the App Store. We'll comment here that this will do, we'll just do sync signing. It's in the name, but I mean, we'll add to it. This is going to build the binary, and then this will release the binary. This DESC is a very fast lane way to add comments to your lanes. I'll show you what this looks like right now. So we can run fast lane lanes. And for iOS, we have sync signing, build binary, and release. They don't do anything yet, but it at least shows us what lanes we have. We can add more information on what they do later, but we're just gonna go with this for now. Let's see. We are then going to do the same thing for Mac. We won't do a whole bunch of editing in Mac yet. We're going to do iOS first. But if we go over now and run fast lane lanes again, we'll see we have our iOS lanes for signing, build, release, and our Mac for signing, build, release. Cool. So I can actually run fast lane build. Oh, I should probably spell it right. Fast lane build. Nope, fast lane iOS build. Cool. So it did absolutely nothing, and that is fine because that is what it's going to do. So we stubbed out the lanes that we want. We commented the lanes, and now we're going to hook the lanes up to each other. So the way this is going to work is our signing is going to lead into build, and build is going to lead into release. So in order to build, we are going to need to call signing, and then in order to release, we're going to need to call build. So we'll be able to call signing by itself to make sure that signing is totally fine. We're going to then call build, which requires signing, but we know that signing is going to be great. And then we're going to call release eventually that, which we'll call build, which we'll call signing. This kind of allows us to test all the different steps. So that's how we're going to stub out those lanes. We are now going to do some configuration with .env in preparation for calling our Fastlane actions. So the Fastlane actions we're going to be calling are create app online, which will create the app on the developer portal and App Store Connect. We're also going to be using match, which is also called sync code signing. That will create our provisioning profiles and certificates for us. And we're going to be calling build iOS app and build Mac OS app, which will build the binaries and then upload to App Store. And all of these require configurations to be set. And these configurations can be set from within the fast file by hard coding things, or we can do it through our .env files, which is what we're going to do. It makes the fast file cleaner, and it makes things a little bit easier to change up and see the different configurations for all of the envs that we're using. So by default, Fastlane will load just a .env file automatically. So we can put stuff in here that is shared between iOS and Mac, and things that aren't secret that we can commit. We're going to create a .env.secret file, which I'm actually not going to edit on screen because it has my secrets. But that will have a GitHub API token. It'll have the application specific password, which we need to upload to the App Store. And then this file, we're not going to commit to the repository because it's secret. It shouldn't be there. And then we're going to have our .env.ios and .env.mac, which will load in their specific platforms. So iOS will have some of its own configurations, Mac will have some of its own, and they'll all get loaded depending on which platform we're going to run. I did forget a lane. We are going to have one that's outside the platforms that is called create app. And this, we'll just start coding here. It's going to call produce or create app online. This is also called produce. And this is going to create the app on create app on developer portal and App Store Connect for us. So this is all that this lane is going to have. We're not going to configure it here. We're going to configure it in our .env files. So we're going to create a new file for fastlane.env. We're going to create a new file for fastlane.env.secret. We don't actually need secret yet, I don't think. We don't need iOS. We'll just create them all. Tab edit fastlane.env.mac, and we're going to create a new one, fastlane.env.secret. All right, cool. So that's all we need. We're going to put here now, we're going to put a whole bunch of secrets that we need. When communicating with Produce or create app online, the first thing we need is we are going to need our Fastlane account info. So we're going to use my personal info, my personal team name, and my team name. Cool. So this will get used by almost all the tools in Fastlane that need it. It'll be used by Create App Online, by sync code signing, and by upload to test flight. This is that's what it is. It tells Fastlane which user and which team to upload things to. For Produce, we are going to put information here about our app. I'll show you our Xcode app now. Here's our bundle identifier. I actually had my prep demo bundle identifier in there. So we're going to change that now for both Mac and iOS. They are the same bundle identifier. So we're going to put this bundle identifier into Produce app bundle identifier. We're going to give it a name, Josh CocoaHeadsNL demo. We're going to give an initial version of 0.1.0. This is what it'll create it as on the App Store. We're going to give it some SKU, which I still don't know what a good SKU scheme is. So we're going to go that. And then for platforms, we are going to go iOS and OS X. I think that is all we need for that. Yeah. So what we're going to do now is I think everything's correct. Yeah. So everything to create our app online should be there. We have our account to log into our iOS developer account, and we have our produce options for app identifier, our app name, app version, our SKU, and we're going to create a combined iOS and Mac app. Let's give it a shot. What I call it again? What was it? FL create app. Okay. So Fastlane create app. This should create it for us on the developer portal and App Store Connect. A little bit of spookiness. So we created it on the Dev Center. It's creating it on App Store Connect now. And boom, we have the app on the App Store, on App Store Connect. We are not going to. I'm not going to show it yet. I said I didn't want to go to the app stores or to the websites, but this looks good enough. We got an ID here. So it would take a whole bunch of clicks on the developer portal. We didn't click at all, really. We just typed some stuff, and this is nice and repeatable between projects. So this is what I always use. Now our next step is to do our signing. So we're going to go back to our fast file, and our signing is going to happen in our signing lane. And for signing, we call match. So that's all we're going to do for signing too. We will add more in here later, but right now we're just going to call match, or I think it's called sync code signing. We're going to go with that because it makes a little more sense. It's also called match. Okay. So for this one, we will need some shared environment variables that both Mac and iOS will use. Where are they here? Here we go. Okay. So it's going to require a match username, which the match username for me is this. This is your Apple developer account. So we have me at Josh Holtz. Our app identifier is going to be the same from up here. And then our app type is going to be App Store. I don't think there's a dash in there. There is not a dash in there. Okay. And then I'm not going to type my match repository, but here we go. All right. So we have my match username. This is what it's used to sign into the Apple developer portal. We have my Git repo, which is private. Don't bother going there. You won't get access to it. We have our identifier. This is what it's going to create the profiles with. And we're going to create App Store profile types, and it'll verify that we have a distribution certificate. We need a little bit more information for iOS. Not much, but we are going to tell it we're using Match Platform iOS. Match should technically know because we're in Platform iOS, but I still like to do things explicitly. And I wanted to make sure things really worked for this demo. So now we have everything we need for signing. I think we can run this. We're going to run Fastlane iOS signing. We'll see some output here, and I won't super read through it because I want to make sure we have enough time for all the other fun stuff, but it is cloning my existing repo. I do have a distribution cert already made that I was testing with today. I didn't feel like revoking it, but now it's creating our provisioning profile called Match App Store com CocoaHeadsNL demo. So we now have a distribution cert that is installed in my keychain. And then our profile is also downloaded, all of this stored, encrypted on a Git repository. Perfect. So the next fun bit now, that's the, where are we here? Here we are. Okay. So we're not fully done with code signing yet. This part gets a little bit weird. It's pretty specific to how I like this process. But right now, our code signing is set to automatically manage signing. This is not exactly what I want. I don't like to sign into my iOS developer account in Xcode, and automatically signing does not work on a CI because you can't sign in to Xcode with your account. So we're going to use manual signing. I could configure manual signing, the code sign identity, the provisioning profile specifier, and the code sign style in build settings manually. I don't want to do that. So I'm going to use Fastlane to do that for me. We're going to go over here, and I'm just going to copy for the sake of time. Oh, we're going to put four lines in here, and I have really messed up tabbing, so let's fix that. Okay. There we go. Okay. So this looks a little bit weird. I think I can make it look like this. There we go. Okay. So what this is going to do is after our sync code sign runs, it puts what's called the provisioning profile mapping in actions lane context. This is a singleton global access thing to information after actions run. This mapping, it has a key of a bundle ID and the profile that was created. So what we're doing is we're getting this dictionary of mapping. We're going to give it a key of our app identifier, and it's going to return the profile name. So update code signing settings is going to modify my Xcode project, which is usually not great, but we're going to add some things later on at the end that will allow us to do a nice git reset and just ignore that after a release is done. But we're going to go and put some of these configurations in our inside of our .env file. I'm going to copy and paste these, and this is going in iOS. So what we're doing is these are environment variables that are specified or that are used within this update code signing action. In order to see them, we can run Fastlane action update code signing settings. And this will show us all the environment variables that we need over here. I copy and paste them from over on my other monitor, but we're going to give them a project path. The target is Hubby iOS. The signing build configuration we only want to modify is release. We're going to turn automatic code signing off, and we're going to tell it that we want to use Apple distribution as our profile type. And I believe that's the only thing that we need for that one. Yes. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to run signing again. It's going to pull down our build configurator, or our certificates and provisioning profiles. And this will update our Xcode project. I'm going to undo the changes once we're done, but they will update. So let's go in here. Apparently I modified. Oh, I did modify this already. I think I modified this. Yeah. Okay. So we'll commit that first. That was our bundle change. We don't want to undo that later. Okay. So now we're going to run Fastlane iOS signing again, and it's going to modify. It's going to turn off automatic signing for release, and set our provisioning profile information. Oh, so apparently I entered something wrong because our path to Xcode project is not showing up. What did I do? Oh, I know what I did. We aren't actually loading our .env.ios. I forgot a step. We have to do before all here and run .env.load.env.ios. And then we also need to go put in our gem file, gem.env. We got to require .env. All right, fast file. Okay, so what this will do now is when we get into the platform for iOS, it's going to load our .env.ios. Let's bundle install to make sure we have .env. All right, now this should work. All right, so we can see that it updated code sign identity for Apple distribution, or to Apple distribution for our release target, updated profile name. If we go over here now for iOS, we'll see that our release is not automatically signed, and we have our bundled identifier is wrong for some reason. I thought we committed that. There we go. Our signing is now working for our iOS project. For some reason, that didn't get committed. So we're gonna undo these changes because I don't want to commit those code signing changes. And we're gonna there we go. Thought I'd change that. I might not have. Okay. Let's commit this again. Oh. All right, bundle change. Okay, now we should be good. We're gonna run this one more time to make sure that we are still good. Fastlane iOS signing. So now that we have the signing done, I'll go over here and it should show that everything is good now. Maybe iOS signing. There we go. Okay. No errors. We can totally build this on our local machine and then also on a CI, no problem. So we're going to remove those changes. Get status. Okay. The next step that we're going to do, I may have skipped here. So we created the app online, developer portal, and the App Store. We are using sync code signing to create our certificates, our profiles, and store them in a Git repository. We are using update code signing settings to modify the build settings, which we won't commit after we're done. We'll do that later. Now we're going to use build iOS app to make our signed IPA. It calls Xcode build under the hood. It installs SPM dependencies, it compiles the app, and signs and exports the binary. So we're going to go back into our fast file now. We're going to go into our build lane that is already calling signing that we just got working. And we're going to call build iOS app. And the cool thing is that's all we're going to need to do in our fast file. We're going to go put some configurations in our .env file now. I'm going to copy and paste them for the sake of time again. So we have we're going to call the iOS scheme. We're going to export to App Store, and we're just going to put in and out to a custom output directory that's build iOS. So we're going to save that. And then we're going to run Fastlane iOS. What I call it? I forgot what I called it. Build makes sense. All right, Fastlane iOS build. So we're going to go through the same thing that we saw before. It's going to make sure that we have our proper certs and profiles installed. It's going to modify our project. And now it's using Xcode build to compile the app, which has almost nothing in it. And cool, we actually compiled and signed an IPA on the first try. I don't know how many times I've done that. It hasn't been many. But here's our IPA now. So that is what we're going to end up sending to App Store Connect in our next step. We're going to go back over here. We're going to call our release lane now. Our release lane is going to make use of everything we did already. It's going to call build, which calls signing, which calls match to do all of the certificate and profile work. So in here, we are going to run, where is it here? We're going to run, I think it's upload to App Store, also called deliver, DLI, that's right. And this one is also called gem. Okay, so that's all we need to put into our release lane. Of course, like the rest, we got to put some configurations into our .env file. The only thing which we don't actually need to put is our deliver platform, because this is taken from the platform iOS that is used above. And now we're going to submit to the App Store, Fastlane iOS release. So we'll go through this again, but we should end up seeing a little bit of waiting time when it uploads the signed IPA to the App Store. It's actually going to fail. Yep, I totally forgot a thing. So we're going to cancel. Okay. I did forget a few more settings. Here we go. I don't know what I was thinking. We're going to go back into our just our normal .env file. We're going to put a few things in here. We need the identifier. I totally forgot that this was going in here. We need my team names again. Team name. We are not going to run pre-check, which does a little bit of checking for like metadata and stuff like that. Don't really care about that today. We're skipping screenshots and we're going to skip metadata. And then we're also going to do this other cool parameter called additional upload parameters. It's going to be using a different upload service within Apple called Asperec, which I actually find quicker. So we're going to use that. The other thing we need to do is we need some secret information that I said I wouldn't actually edit on screen. But because the account I'm using for uploading this has 2FA enabled, I need to set an Apple application specific password so that it can authenticate that I am me and that it can upload the binary. So I'm going to set this offline or off on the other screen, and then we can try uploading again. All right, let me do this for a second. All right, now we should be good. Hopefully we can release to App Store now. Nope, I lied. We forgot one more thing. We need to actually load our .env.secret, and that is going to happen up here. We're going to call before all do end .env.load.env.secret. So this will load our secret environment variables, which we only have one right now, before any of the lanes are used. And then just for safety, which it does this automatically, but we're going to require .env. Now we can upload to the App Store. So again, it's calling Xcode build right now from within the build iOS app action. We export an IPA. We're uploading to App Store. It's setting the latest version to 0.1.0. It's fetching our environment variable with our application password. And now it's uploading the binary. Oh, nope. Nope. That is, okay, we aired out. What do we air out on? Oh, what? Okay. Why did that not work? Did I type it wrong? Oh, I had a K on the end. Whoops. All right. No one saw that. Now it should work. I am going to log in to my developer account. where if I can find a Safari window, developer. So this is going, I'm going to log into my App Store Connect account over here. Get the right team selected. We failed again. Oh, I know what I did. One more time. I copied that wrong. All right, CocoaHeadsNL. Okay. Now it's going to work, I think. Let's just copy and paste this to make sure I did the right thing. All right. One more time. One more time. Yep, this will happen. Copy and paste errors, you know. All right, so, all right, we have it going. I have my window over here for when it succeeds this time. Hopefully not too much longer. All right, there we go. Okay, we have App Store. So if I go over into our App Store Connect now, we should see some activity of our build. Boom, it's processing. Cool. So we have an iOS app now on the App Store. Now it is time to do the exact same thing for Mac. For Mac, I am going to change the build ID because it will yell at me when, or sorry, the build number. It will yell at me. So for Mac, we are going to do stuff really similar. Our Mac platform is going to be, for Mac, it's going to be Mac OS. This is Mac OS. This is Mac OS. I could probably do some fancy replace, but I don't trust myself right now. I don't trust myself doing this either. Mac OS, and then deliver is OS X. There is one more thing that we need to add for Match. Mac OS apps need a Mac installer distribution cert, just an additional cert, and we'll have Match make that and fetch that for us. But we have Mac. Okay, so that's everything that we need to do for Mac OS. And it's real similar to iOS, just things slightly tweaked a little bit. Now we're going to copy, we're just going to delete everything we have in Mac. A little bit of copy paste. There are ways to make this a little bit better, but we're just going to go with this. The only change we have to do is tell it to load .env.mac instead of .ios. And now we should be able to do Fastlane Mac release. And it should create signing build, give us a signed PKG that that it's going to upload to the App Store. So hopefully this one works right away. Nope, that's not. I told it to build iOS app, not Mac app. This is gonna break. It might break. It might work actually. This might actually work. Yeah, build iOS app. Fastlane might be smart enough to not realize that. We're gonna find out. Looks like it built the PKG. All right. So let's go change that first because I don't like that. We're gonna change the build Mac app. But if we now go over to our Oh, that's all. Let's see, what do we got here? Oh, iOS, Mac OS. There we go. We got our Mac build. It actually worked first try, even though I made a mistake. So I think that was the point of the whole demo. I'm going to add a few more lines into the fast file. We're not going to test them because I think we're running a little bit low on time for Q&A. But we are using upload to App Store now. It's also called deliver, and it uploads a binary to the App Store. One thing I mentioned earlier that I was going to retouch up upon was this. Where's my cursor? This update code signing settings. This modifies our Xcode project. And I don't like having a Fastlane process that modifies and leaves stuff unchanged at the end. It makes it really weird to release things. You want to make sure that you have a nice clean repository before you're releasing and also after. So what I like to do is in my release line, call ensure get status clean. This makes sure everything is committed, nothing hanging out. And then we also call ensure get branch. I don't know why that tab's funny. So what these two lines do is they make sure that our Git repository is clean, and also that we are on master, because we only want to release this when we're on master in a good Git state. And then at the end of this, what we would do is call reset Git repo, and reset Git repo would just do a Git checkout dash of any change files that we have. It's not clean. I wish there were better ways to dynamically set build settings per configuration through Xcode build, maybe WWDC 2020. That'd be super nice for me. But if we can't do that, this will work. A few other things that I added in here, which I will have this repo public later on. We add a Git tag and then push the Git tag. This will allow us to tag the version as 0.0.1.0 in Git. And then after this, I also end up setting set GitHub release, which will create a GitHub release for our tag, where you can put notes, you can attach a Mac app if you want to it or something. This is kind of my standard approach of kind of creating Fastlane from nothing to something. Start with the stub, see kind of what lanes I all want to call. Start with the most basic part and just keep building on top of that. And when I have my final like working approach, kind of decorate that with all the nice extras that I have. I think that's it. We started off with nothing, basic app that had no changes to it besides me having the wrong bundle ID, and then added produce to create the app. We created our distribution certs and profiles. We then built it through Xcode build command line tool with gym/build iOS app, and then submitted it to the App Store for both iOS and Android. You can follow me on Twitter, GitHub. I'm super active on both, too active probably on Twitter. I take Fastlane questions and all the stuff on Twitter, so feel free to hit me up there too. But I think now it's also time for questions. I think I'm going to be sent some questions to answer. All right. All right, I got some questions in the works, so just stay tight, y'all. All right. Oh, there we go. Okay. So we have one question. I'm going to put it on the screen. Here we go. So QA. What is current plan for Fastlane to adopt the App Store Connect API? That is a loaded question that I have opinions on. So I love the App Store Connect API. I think it was a great ad, and I would love to see more of it. But right now, the App Store Connect API is really only covering maybe 10% of what Fastlane does. Um, it it really helped when using things that interacted with TestFlight. That was the first part of the API that they released, and it was nice. But in Fastlane, we still can't use the JWT auth format that the new API uses. Since when it was first released, that was kind of a feature that they only allowed some people to use. But all of Fastlane still needs the standard web auth. So we have to still use the web auth, but the App Store Connect APIs are proxied through web auth, through some of the through some endpoints. It doesn't give us the full App Store Connect API, but we do get to use some of it. And the TestFlight one is pretty good. The developer part of the API that was released in the second phase is still not fully functional. It's missing being able to create Apple distribution and Apple developer certs through the JWT auth. It's only working through web auth through another like proxy layer API kind of thing. It's kind of weird. So I would totally love to go full App Store Connect API if we can. The hard part is it's only covering a little bit of Fastlane. What I would love to see is if we could get rid of using the standard web auth altogether. If Apple could take the JWT auth and allow us to access the private legacy APIs that we were using with that JWT auth, that would be a huge win. I believe for the Fastlane community. I have a blog post that I'm working on that kind of explains that too. But adopting the App Store Connect API is a whole thing. I could probably do another hour on that. We'll go to the next question. Is Fastlane a... Oh, let me copy this one. Can't copy it. That is small. I don't like that. Anyway, I'll make this bigger later. Is Fastlane able to deal with push notification tokens? So Fastlane can. Where's my web browser? Fastlane can create certs for push notifications if that's what that question is asking. The tool is called PEM. PEM automatically generates and renews your push notification profiles. It's not necessarily tokens. The tokens are what the apps use when you register for notifications. But Fastlane does have PEM, also called Get Push Certificates, for dealing with those, for dealing with push notifications. How long have you been working on Fastlane? I've been working on Fastlane since that's also small. Since about 2015 at the beginning when Felix first created it. All the tools were separate in their own gems and in their own repositories, but I've been pretty active in Fastlane since then and heavily active since I took over the lead maintainer role in 2018. Some plugins that I suggest, well, using Vim for iOS and macOS development. Oof, that's a thing. So I actually don't do iOS or macOS development directly in Vim. I do use Xcode still. All my other development I do in Vim. I don't know exactly what it's called. It's been a while since I've installed it, but my favorite plugin is dealing with AG/Silver Surfer. I can do a Control P to search for file names. and then I can do a Control T to open things in a new tab, or I have Control T, which does a fuzzy search over the whole repo. That's pretty much the only plugin I use. The biggest thing to use, or that I do with command line, is tmux. I can't not use tmux. I use Fastlane without .env files. Where else can be stored data if you had? Where else can you store data in the env files? Okay, so Fastlane. If you don't want to use .env files, which is totally fine, we have cancel. Where is it? App file. We have something called an app file, which does something similar. You can set your Apple ID in here. There's also, I think, I forget the syntax, but like for platform iOS, where you can then set app identifier in here. This is all in the docs under the app file section, which I can go to over here. App file. It explains how to store it. It does store things similarly as you would in .envs, in a more Ruby fast file syntax. Some people prefer this. I prefer using .env files, but totally personal preference. If you want, you can even totally hard code stuff in your fast file. No one will judge. I use Fastlane without .env. Oh, I guess that one. I heard last year that Fastlane was being rewritten in Go. Is that correct? I don't know who's trolling me, but Go is not what we're rewriting in, because we're also not rewriting Fastlane. It is staying in Ruby because there is a lot there. There's been a lot of questions about if we're going to rewrite in Swift, because that makes sense, but that would probably take years, and there's enough backlog and things that we can do in the current version that also take years. So it is totally going to stay in Ruby. We do have a Swift interface if you want to use that, but Fastlane isn't just for iOS. So I'm sidetracking into Swift because I assume I'm being trolled by this Go question. But it's not going to get rewritten in Swift because Fastlane is used cross-platform for multiple different app platforms. So I mean, it's used in Linux, Mac, and Windows, which I guess they can probably all use Swift now. But it's not just iOS or Mac OS; it's also Android. Ruby or Fastlane's also used to deploy Fastlane and other Ruby gems. I use Fastlane to deploy game development. So it's Ruby's a pretty good scripting language, and we're going to stay with Ruby. What happened to the Swift version of Fastlane? It's still totally there. It is, where is it? There's a spot here. We're just going to search for it. Swift. Getting started with Fastlane and Swift beta. So you can write your fast file in Swift. I still do it in Ruby. It's quicker for me. I like Ruby's syntax, especially when I'm dealing with scripting stuff. I like Swift syntax when I'm doing app stuff. But you can run Fastlane in its Swift. Creates an Xcode project with a fast file.swift file that you can create. It looks real similar. It's a little more verbose, but it is what it is. It's a little bit slower because it has to send the Swift through a socket to the Ruby stuff that then sends it back up into Swift when it's done. So it totally works for some people. It's fun. We do still maintain it, but it's gonna the core of it will stay in Ruby. I think that is potentially all of the questions. I don't see any more funneling in through comments or through Slack. Someone's typing at me. We might have one more. That was it. All right, cool. All right, well, thank you for everybody's time. Again, you can follow me on Twitter, GitHub. I interact with everybody that I can. And let's do this again. Thanks for having me, everyone.